Hello.
Hi.
So we're talking Festival 31. First time that you've been involved in Festival 31, Rebecca, yeah?
Yes, and thanks, Adele. It's been brilliant.
Oh, thank you for getting on board. It's been great. It's been really unexpected this year to work with some larger organisations, and really, really fantastic actually to work with yourselves at Everyman Playhouse, but also with Culture Liverpool, and just to experience something different this year online. Not only it being online as an experience, but also working with new partners and just everything that you've been able to bring. So what's been your impressions of the festival this year? Where did it start and where's it led to for you?
I've really loved the collaboration, and the opportunity for organisations to get involved from before the festival started, which has helped to shape it, because there is quite a lot going on in Liverpool, and people are committed in different ways. You can see that on the website, that despite us being in COVID, and despite it not being a normal time for Refugee Week or Festival 31, there's still quite a lot of activity going on, and it's been lovely to see that, and to collaborate with people, and just fabulous to work with such a range of artists.
Yeah, I agree. And that's one of the things I really like about Festival 31, and I think has shown itself this year as well, is that it's always been very much grassroots, but also just showcasing what's going on in the city, and not claiming what's going on, but being a platform to celebrate and to acknowledge the amount of activity that goes on through the year around the refugee experience, and the dialogue around that, and the showcasing of talents, and the exploration and the conversation of how do we self-define, which is why I'm really interested that came up in the artist discussion this year. But also historically the festival has always been about supporting emerging refugee artists from refugee backgrounds, artists who are displaced, however people want to define themselves and their professional aspiration or career or practice. It's always been about supporting the emerging, and I really like the fact that this year it's actually weighted towards people who are from an experience where they've got lived experience of the refugee journey, or being from a migrant background, recognising that. I think that's really, really interesting, and that's just the residences. Did you expect that much contribution?
Probably not, because we were having to have a digital program, and also, even for ourselves, it took quite a while before we could move our work that we were doing with refugees and asylum seekers into a digital offer, because there's so many other needs, isn't there, that need to be dealt with before that. So I think I was quite surprised at how willing people were, and how much was on offer, but also realizing how it created a community for people. It created connection, which people really valued during this time.
And I think what's really interesting is that when we first started off with what the festival would be this year, at SOLA, when I say we, it was people at SOLA were thinking from previous years. 2014 it started as a festival. What would we do? And Tony, who's somebody who's been involved in the interviewing program that you've been able to support, he came forward with the idea of a USB stick carrying somebody's story, somebody's life in it, really, of somebody who's had to flee persecution or migrate very quickly. And that led us to the idea of thinking of clouds and digital resources. And then bang, COVID-19 happened, and we had no choice but to take the festival online. And it was almost like a premonition. The festival this year is going to be about being digital, And I was a little bit skeptical as to how well that would work, because historically it's always been a festival of face-to-face, physical connecting with people and having that kind of conversation, or having exhibitions that people can immerse themselves in and get to meet people. But actually, I think you're right. I think the sharing has really, really happened, and people have wanted to share and people have wanted to connect, and in so many different ways. And I'm sure that there's work out there that hasn't been able to be captured, but the people who have been able to come on board and get involved, and the willingness and the generosity to share what they've been doing. But it's also about simply celebrating, being creative, and exploring, working together, also exploring the refugee narrative, whatever that be, which can be very personal, and then there can be commonalities of experience. And I just think it's really special that people do that. Yeah, really special. Without that, the festival doesn't exist. There's no point of it existing.
I think it would be lovely to think that this year, in presenting that challenge, will enable the festival to have a wider audience in future. Because I think that if there can be a digital programme, and there can be activities, and there can be ways of people finding out about the refugee experience digitally, that might be the first step for people to engage. And it also might be a way of engaging with people that haven't traditionally engaged in the face-to-face festival. So it feels like maybe this is the start of us thinking about more of a hybrid offer in the future.
But also hybrid in arts organisations working together as well. So, to be able to work with yourselves, to be able to work with Culture Liverpool, has meant that SOLA has thought differently about the festival, which has enabled us, which we've wanted to do for a long time, is to reach bigger audiences, to have this conversation with many, many more people. Really, really rich experience working together this year. And I'm sure that there are other partners that can come on board to be core partners to drive the festival forward in the future as well. Yeah, I think it'd be great. Let's do hybrid. Let's do more core partners. Let's see where it goes. Let's get more artists. Let's do more.
Oh, and Adele, let's thank everybody that's been involved in this festival, because that's what makes it work, doesn't it? Thanks to the audience.
Hey. Thank you, everybody, for being involved. Oh, right. Well, until next year then, Rebecca.
Until next year. High five.